Hi guys, welcome back to another video and I hope you're keeping well. My name is Eshaan Akhtar and I am the founder and chairman of AK Education Group. In today's episode we're going through looking at the specialized cells within plants. We're going to look at some of the different types of specialized cells and also their functions as well. So buckle up, this is going to be a really important lesson and make sure you're paying attention. You've got your notepad and pen ready to take some notes as well. So as always, the criteria of the lesson will be to focus on the content, but also explain to you where the exam technique comes in as well. So if you're enjoying the series so far, we've looked at the cells topic, the microscopy topic. So if you're enjoying the series, make sure you like this video and you share the video as well. That would be really appreciated as it helps the channel grow so we can help support more students. Right, without further ado guys, let's get into today's video, specialized plant cells. So, behind me, as you can see in the previous videos, we went through plant cell subcellular structures. Now we're going to go through specialized plant cells and the features of specialized plant cells. So, here we have some different examples of specialized plant cells and they all have a very specific function. So, I'm going to pause the video guys, you're going to pause the video. It's been a long day. You're going to pause the video and you're going to let me know if you can name any of these specialized plant cells. What you can do is leave a comment in the comment section of this video, or alternatively send us a WhatsApp message on 07918 273 550 where you can send us a picture of your answers to these questions so we can interact with you in real time, and you can also benefit from live mentorship from any of our tutors as well. So, you've got a palisade cell, you've got a guard cell, you've also got a root hair cell, you've got xylem and phloem. Okay, so these are the different specialized plant cells. Now, let's go into more detail looking at the palisade cell. So, the palisade cell is found at the top of the leaves so that they can absorb as much light as possible. Now, what's the function of a leaf? Of course, it is to absorb light for photosynthesis. So, they are done by the palisade cells. Okay, good stuff. Now we move on to the guard cells. Now, the guard cells are found in the underside of the leaf, which is just here, the underside of the leaves. And what this diagram here is showing is a cross section of a leaf. So you can see where the position of the sort of specialized cells are within the plant cell. So at the top you have your palisade cell. Now you've got your guard cell, which is sort of towards the underside of the leaf. So, what happens when the stomata are open? Well, when the stomata opens, your carbon dioxide diffuses into the leaf and water vapor and oxygen diffuse out. So, carbon dioxide comes in, diffuses in, water vapor and oxygen diffuse out. Okay, that's what happens when the stomata are open. Now, let's have a look at root hair cells. Okay, root hair cells are my favourite one. Why? Because they just have such an amazing function within the plant cell and they're really interesting to learn as well. Probably one of the easiest to learn, hence why my favourite. So, the outside surface area of the roots are covered in root hair cells. Pretty self-explanatory. Their job is to absorb water and minerals from the soil. This is why I said it's my favourite, guys. It's very simple to remember this. The root hair cells absorb water and minerals from the soil. It's as simple as that. No complicated stuff. So, the root of the plants, here you can have a look. You've got your real small root hair cells there. And then here we zoom in onto a root hair cell and you can see that the water is absorbed by osmosis. Remember that, guys. We're going to go through the different types of transport of minerals and water in a different lesson. So, mineral ions are absorbed by active transport and water is absorbed by osmosis. Really important to write this down, some key facts there. So, the next two we're going to look at the xylem and phloem. These are like sort of work cohesively together. So, hence why we're talking about them together. The xylem and the phloem, they are in the stem of the plant. Now, the xylem transports water upwards from roots to leaves in one direction. And the phloem is responsible for transporting the glucose and amino acids up and down the plant. Okay, so the phloem is related to glucose and amino acids. The xylem is related to the water. I see students sort of getting confused between the two, and they sometimes relate water with phloem and sometimes relate glucose with amino and amino acid with xylem. Do not make that mistake, it'll cost you marks in the exam, okay? So, really important that you actually understand some of this key terminology that we're discussing and the actual role of the specialized cells within the plant cell, okay? So, hence, there you go guys. This is why I said these are like sort of really closely linked. Just look at them in this image here. You've got your xylem over here and your phloem right here. So, hence why these are probably the best ones to learn together because they kind of work next to each other. Now, a little question for you to have a go at guys. If xylem transports water in all directions in a plant, true or false? You need to justify your answer. Okay, this is exam technique now. Okay, you said your point, but explain why. Okay, that's your exam technique. So, water travels from the roots to the leaves in one direction. Water is needed for respiration and travels in all directions to every cell of the plant. You guys need to let me know what the answer is, and in 30 seconds we'll go through the response. Okay, so pause the video, have a go, and then you'll be able to see the response now. So it's false. I'm justifying is water travels from the roots to the leaves in one direction. The xylem does not transport. Which direction did we say, guys? Which direction? Let me know in the comment section below. Which direction? So what is the function of the guard cell? What is the function of the guard cell? Well, we talked about one thing, didn't we? And that was, of course, the stomata. So, it controls if the stomata are open or unclosed. Okay, that's what the guard cell is for. Make sure you are aware of this, guys. Now, root hair cells do not contain chloroplasts. True or false? This is pretty simple, guys. True. Why? Because photosynthesis cannot take place without sunlight, and so there are no chloroplasts in the root hair cells. Very important that you're learning this stuff, guys. Very important. Okay? Now, let's go through naming some of these. Okay, let's name them. So, palisade, guard, root hair, xylem, phloem. Phloem, xylem, root hair, guard, palisade. Remember them, okay? So, palisade, guard, root hair cell, xylem, phloem. There you go, guys. If I can remember them, so can you. Okay? What is the function of root hair cells? This is your answer. The outside surface of roots are covered in root hair cells. Their job is to absorb water and minerals from the soil. Okay? So, if I ask you what's the function of a root hair cell, you say it's to absorb water and minerals from the soil. Okay? That's how quick you should be able to remember some of this stuff. If I ask you your name, you can tell me straight away. If I ask you what a root hair cell is, you should be able to tell me straight away. That's when I know that you've learnt everything properly and you're ready to sit this in the exam. If I start asking you questions and you go, I think this is it this, is it that? I've asked a question. You shouldn't be responding with a question, you should respond with the answer. This is something I see a lot of students make the mistake of. And if I ask a question, they return back with the question. Is it this? Is it that? No, you tell me what it is. Okay, that's when I know you're confident. And that's what at AK Education Group we build within our students is confidence. Okay, so if you're a parent looking for a tuition class, you want your child to be supported from one of our experienced tutors, then you can contact the admin team on 07918 273 550, because this is the sort of stuff that we're trying to instill into the students so they're not forgetting easy facts like this. Right. So, some more questions to go through is explain where the palisade cells are located in the leaf. The palisade cells are found at the top of the leaf. This is so they can absorb as much energy as possible. Now, this is how you should be making your notes, guys. I'm going to leave this on the board for you to have a look through and you can make notes as I'm discussing. But this is really important. Why? Because this is how you should be revising in the exam. When you're making revision, this is how you should be revising for the exam. Apologies. So, the reason why I say this is because a lot of students will make flashcards and they will only write this down. When they're making notes, they write this down. Now, that's good. That's good. I'm not hating on it. But the issue is you're not practicing active recall. If you write this as your question to ask yourself whilst revising, what you're going to be doing is processing information a lot more actively. There's going to be active learning. You're going to be trying to think about what the response is to that question. If you just try to memorize this, you won't understand in the exam what type of question were they asking me that requires that answer. You see how just changing and fine-tuning your revision technique, you become a pro at topics in biology. Right, now what we're going to do is we're going to go through the features of specialized plant cell. This is really important as well, so make sure you listen on and making notes as well. So, the palisade cells are adapted to their function in the following ways. Let's have a look. So many chloroplasts to absorb as much light as possible for photosynthesis. Here you can see the chloroplast dotted around. You've got chloroplasts here dotted around. Now, they have a column shape so that they can be packed close together and at the top of the leaf. We said they were at the top of the leaf, okay? Just here, guys. Found at the top of the leaf, just there. Okay? Now, what this diagram here is a cross-section of a leaf, so you can visually see the location of the palisade cells, okay? I hope that's making sense. Right, your guard cells. So, your guard cells now are open during the day, right? And they're closed during the night. Okay? So, why are they open? So the stomata so the water can evaporate, and you've got an open stomata so the water can evaporate. And then in bright light, the guard cells absorb water by osmosis. Any sort of transport of water, think osmosis, okay? Think osmosis. Now, what this allows the cell to become is turgid, which keeps the stomata open during the day. Because this process is happening of absorbing water, the stomata stays open. If I fast forward into here, you can see that the stomata is closed, so water cannot leave. This here, guys, is your difference between the stomata during the day, stomata at night, okay? Now, because of the low light levels at night time, the guard cells lose water, they become flaccid. So it causes the stomata to close, okay? Stomata are located on the underside of the leaves to limit the amount of water lost through evaporation. So what you can see is when the energy is coming from the sunlight, you're more likely to lose water, okay? Water is more likely to evaporate. So the stomata is useful in trying to limit that amount of water lost. Here we can see the water evaporating in the cross section of the leaf. Now, the root hair cells, if we go back, the root hair cells are adapted to their function in the following ways. They have many mitochondria, okay? Many mitochondria to release energy needed for active transport of minerals from the soil, okay? They have long, thin hair-like projection to increase their surface area for absorption of water or minerals, and they have a large permanent vacuole to store as much water as possible, okay? So, if you want to make notes of that, feel free to get this written down. I would also draw these different cells out. Draw them out so you can visually see what's happening. I would draw out the mitochondria, I would draw out the vacuole, I would certainly draw out the long thin hair-like projection as well. Now, let's have a look at the xylem. So, the cell walls are thickened with lining to strengthen the hollow tubes and provide support. The xylem cells are effectively dead. Interesting. Why is that? Because they contain no subcellular structures. There's no subcellular structures between here. Okay? So, this is why the water can move without any hesitation. There's nothing obstructing the flow of water here. Okay? Now, the ends of the cell have broken down, which forms the hollow tubes that allows water to move through. Now, the phloem cells are adapted to their function in the following way. So we understand that they're trying to transport glucose up and down and amino acids, but how are they adapted for that? So they have companion cells which contain many mitochondria, and these release energy to help the transport of glucose and amino acids, and the cells have fewer subcellular structures to allow more glucose and amino acids will flow through. So likewise, it's quite similar to the xylem cell in many ways, so they don't have as many subcellular structures. But the phloem cells have something different, sieve plates. Now the sieve plates, they essentially help to join the cell, okay, and they have these small holes just here between them, which allow the glucose and the amino acids to pass through. This process is called translocation. Now you cover this more in A-level biology in more detail, but we'll touch briefly on it within sort of the lectures as we come through the different topics, and we'll look at a little bit of translocation, but it's quite heavily studied in A-level biology. Now, if you want to pause the video or have a go at this question, let us know the answer. It's B, contains companion cells to transfer energy. Why do root cells have long hair-like projections? What do we think, guys? Let us know. Right, question 3. At night, glass cells become turgid and stay open. True or false? Let us know, guys. Here's the answer. False and B. Right, guys. There's a task here for you. What I'll do is I'll let you take a quick screenshot and then I will move on to the next one. You can send these to our admin team as well, so they will allow you to get some advice on these questions. Right, next one. If you want to take a screenshot, guys, feel free to do so. Right, guys, so then there's one more question. Right, we'll go through those. Right, and we come towards the end of the presentation. So what we've had a look at today is the common structures and specialized cells. So plant and animal cells do have some common subcellular structures. Plant cells usually have 3 additional structures: cell wall, chloroplast, and a large permanent vacuole. That we covered in our previous lecture. We went through today the palisade cell, the guard cell, the root hair cell, the xylem cell, and the phloem cell, all which are very important specialized cells for plant cells. Okay, so make sure you've got all the notes written down of today's lecture. I will see you guys in the next video where we go through more of GCSE biology. The important thing I want to add is we offer 4 hours of teaching for £45 each week, where you get an hour of maths, an hour of English language, 2 hours of science each week to help support you guys with your education. If you are interested, contact the admin team on 07918 273 550 and they will send you the booking link. If you've got any further questions, don't hesitate to ask. I will see you guys on the next episode.